Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are embarking on a truly mind-expanding exploration into a universe where sound isn't just something you hear, it's actually a tool for world building. We're going to completely rethink how we experience music, culture, and honestly, reality itself. I want you to start by asking yourself this pretty provocative question. What if music isn't just sound, but a literal technology for building new worlds? What if those vibrations hitting your eardrums are actively constructing entirely new sensory realities? I know, it sounds like pure science fiction, doesn't it? Well, today we're exploring a concept where that idea is very much a reality. So here's the roadmap for our mixadelic universe today. We'll enter the sonic fiction, explore myth science and mixologics, see how they're generating mutant textures, brave the ecology of fear, discover sonic possible worlds, and finally, look at the implex and social progress.
All right, Section 1, enter the sonic fiction. Let's just dive right into our very first paradigm shift. Our whole journey today stems directly from some incredibly fascinating source material, Holger Schulze's comprehensive book, Sonic Fiction. Now, this text is a massive extraction of ideas that were initially sparked by the brilliant thinker Kodwo Eshun. It serves as our launchpad to understand a highly advanced, maybe slightly controversial, but absolutely illuminating approach to how we study and experience sound. The authors highlight a really stark contrast here. They argue that for decades, traditional musicology has acted kind of like a strict headmaster. It's this top-down, rigid theoretical structure that tries to teach music a thing or two about life, essentially subduing it into neat historical boxes. Sonic fiction, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It's a liberating, Afrodiasporic approach rooted completely in sensory experience. It doesn't want to interpret music historically. It wants to touch it, feel it, and track its lines of force. Kodwo Eshun describes this so perfectly. He says, sonic fiction turns your mind into a universe, an inner space through which you, the headphonenaut, are traveling. Think about that. It transforms you. You're no longer just a passive listener, right? You become an alien astronaut piloting an audio ship through the landing strip of your own senses.
Section 2, Myth Science and Mixologics. These are the engines. So, what exactly powers this audio ship? Let's take a look.
First up, we've got myth science. If traditional science only values what is highly rational and purely objective, myth science, which is a term originally championed by the legendary musician Sun Ra, moves completely beyond that. It's a field of knowledge that deliberately bursts the edge of improbability. It actively explores the unknown, the irrational, and those highly specific sensory realities that standard academic reasoning completely ignores. And driving that whole exploration is mixologic. This is a purposefully ill-advised, diffracting logic of mixture. Think about a DJ scratching a record, or the dub virus in reggae, where the recording studio itself literally becomes an instrument. These are practices that unravel and recombine musical codes to essentially hack sonic reality. They mix concepts and technologies in ways that absolutely shatter the established rules.
Moving on to Section 3, generating mutant textures. Because what happens when mythoscience and mixologic actually crash into the real world?
Well, they generate mutantextures. And a mutanture isn't just, some weird sound. It is the absolute material proof, the physical or sonic artifact left behind when you apply a diffracted mixologic. It's the hard evidence that a new, rule-breaking logic was successfully deployed to create something totally unprecedented.
So this gives us a complete sequential flow of sonic thinking. First, you start with the foundation of myth science, exploring the unknown. Second, you apply mixologics, hacking the rules and recombining codes. And finally, out pops the mutant texture, your physical proof. These three pillars form a completely interconnected system for world building through sound.
But of course, this immense power of sound isn't always utilized for liberation. That brings us to Section 4, the ecology of fear. Let's look at Steve Goodman's research into the darker applications of these exact same equations.
Goodman sets the stage here with a truly nightmare scenario. He writes, "It's night. You're asleep, peacefully dreaming. Suddenly the ground begins to tremble. The vibration moves up through your body, constricting your internal organs until it hits your chest and throat, making it impossible to breathe." This is a deeply visceral reminder that sound isn't just an abstract concept. It is an intense, physical force that directly impacts our biology and our environments.
And that physical impact brings us to holosonic control. This is where theoretical myth science becomes a very real modern-day weapon. Goodman explores how sound is deployed for societal and governmental control, through directional ultrasound, pervasive sonic branding, and viral marketing. It's this invisible micropolitics of frequency operating all around us in the 21st century. To truly grasp this vibrational ecology, we have to look at a core conflict: logocentrism versus sonic epistemologies. Logocentrism is thinking with texts and words. It's how academia has traditionally operated forever. But to grasp the true power of sound, whether we're talking about a liberating Afrofuturist beat or a terrifying directional acoustic weapon, we absolutely must embrace sonic epistemologies. We have to start thinking with our ears and our flesh. Okay, Section 5, Sonic Possible Worlds. Let's dive into how this flesh-based listening actually shapes reality, guided by the thinker Salome Vogelin.
Vogelin introduces us to this idea of phenomenological possibilism. The core idea here is that listening isn't just a passive reception, it's a sensory motor action. When you listen deeply, you aren't just hearing a recording of something that already happened in the past. The sound is generating a plurality of actual, living fictions that you are inhabiting in real time.
Vogelin sums it up beautifully. She says, sonic fictions do not propose a bridge between the actual and the possible, but make the possibility of actuality apparent. In other words, music actually builds reality itself. It completely strips away the old hegemony of traditional musicology. Finally, Section 6, the implex and social progress. We're shifting over to the work of Dietmar Daff, who actually translated Kodwo Eshun's original book into German, to see how all this translates into real-world consequences. Daff, along with his co-author Barbara Kirschner, revived this incredibly dense philosophical term called the implex. Simply put, an implex is a latent potential just waiting to be activated. It describes the deeply implied, inherent transformations resting right beneath the surface of any given situation, any new technology, or even a person. It's literally the future waiting to hatch from the present.
Death argues that technological artifacts, whether that's a synthesizer creating wild new mutant textures or just an everyday washing machine, hold this immense latent potential. A washing machine definitely knocks a few weapons out of the hands of misogyny by freeing up labor, but technology alone doesn't create social actualization. You can invent the coolest gear in the world, but the gear by itself is never going to eliminate the division of labor or dismantle social hierarchies. Which brings us to this really powerful conclusion. An articulation of need turns into political activism. The implex is real, yet it remains a mere potential if no one cares to actualize it. To turn these latent sonic fictions and technological potentials into true social progress, it requires us. It takes human energy, it takes protest, vital activism, and people just caring enough to push the world forward.
So we've traveled from the mothership of Afrofuturism, right through the dark ecology of sonic warfare, all the way to the implex of social progress. Now I'm going to leave you with this. As technology and sound continue to evolve at lightning speed, how will you conceptualize the mutant textures of the 2020 seconds? What new worlds are you going to build by thinking with your ears? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep listening closely.